Well, welcome back. Well, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio now requiring all private sector workers to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19. That begins December 27th. This as the Senate is set to vote this week on a bill to block President Biden's vaccine mandate for private companies. This bill is likely to pass with support from Democrat Senator Joe Manchin and all 50 Senate Republicans. Joining me right now is Indiana Senator and Budget Committee member Mike Braun. Senator, thanks very much for being here. You are leading this effort to get this mandate blocked, and we've already heard from the Supreme Court about it.
I mean, so many things say that this is kind of the extension of lunacy in government. You got to remember, the Democrats have viewed the whole navigation through COVID. I said from the beginning, take it seriously, but they want us to marinate in fear. They have no appreciation for the productive side of the economy that they then expect to pay all the bills. And you get a guy like de Blasio that calls it a preemptive strike on his way out the door. I wish he'd talk to the businesses that have been ravaged by his policies in New York. I mean, New York City. It's crazy how much that size of decision making and that hubris of government has taken over the dynamic. It's coming in today, and even places like rock and roll. You got Van Morrison, Eric Clapton that wrote a song. This has got to end. We cannot keep marinating in fear. The dynamic needs to come back to the people on Main Street, not big government, not big business that are trying to control the dynamic.
So how is it possible that a federal judge says it's unconstitutional to have this mandate of Joe Biden's for companies with 100 employees or not, and yet Bill de Blasio can come out and say, well, we're going to do just that in New York City?
They don't care. They are, I call them political entrepreneurs. It's kind of a debasing of the word, but they run with it. Their business is government, especially at the federal level. That's why on the CRA, that was our only tool to get every senator on the record, every House member as well. And now we've got it bipartisan in the Senate. That was a huge accomplishment last Thursday. Every Republican member of the House is on it, and there got to be at least 20 swing state representatives in their districts that have to be shaking in their boots about going against what even an Axios poll said. When you couch it in get the vaccine or lose your job, that's government in overdrive. It's got to end, and we can't keep paying the bills that go along with all these crazy policies.
Well, it's just extraordinary, the overreach and the lies as well. You talk about paying the bills. What about this $5 trillion spending plan? Where does it stand? And do you think that Schumer and Pelosi will get their way to get a vote on this by year end?
You know, I'm relying on Joe Manchin, the same guy that came on board on the CRA to, get that out there. He's been public, and I got the feeling with his constituency in West Virginia that he's going to be mostly true to his word. They've invested so much political capital, egg on Pelosi's face like I've never seen it before, with the fumbling around when they were connected, Biff and BBB. I think they'll get something across the finish line. I just hope we keep delaying it and get it into 2022. The longer we can keep that at bay, the better off Main Street America, the productive economy is going to be. It's a sugar high of additional spending that is confusing to a lot of people. We need to point out what it's really about: more government at every level of our life.
Meanwhile, what is this diplomatic boycott of the Beijing Winter Olympics out of Joe Biden's office? They're talking about human rights concerns. Obviously, we've been shining the spotlight on what's going on in Xinjiang now for years, but no U.S. government officials will attend the games. U.S. athletes will still be able to compete. This is what this diplomatic boycott means. A lot of Republican lawmakers are saying that this doesn't go far enough. They're urging the president to get the games removed from China altogether. Senator, where are you on this? I seem to remember Xi Jinping telling us he didn't want anybody there anyway, right? He said no one will be allowed to come to and sit in the stands in the Beijing Olympics. So is this really doing anything, this diplomatic boycott of the Beijing Games?
It's window dressing, and I think it's symptomatic.
Exactly.
At least Trump had some definition to what was going to happen if you did this or that, and was put together a long-term plan. I was listening to Elon Musk earlier about China being, an economy larger than ours. What you need to worry about mostly is their geopolitical aspirations to replace us on the world stage, not only economically, but controlling the dynamic. Taiwan, what Russia is doing in Ukraine, that would be something, if we came out and did something substantive, would be a lot better than the window dressing, the short-term reaction to players that are rogue across the world. No, we need to do more than that, and we need to be out there with something that says, for the rest of the world, this is where we are, because China, they're long-term players. They got a lot more endurance for pain, and they're going to keep pushing their agenda regardless of what we do, especially when it's window dressing only.
Well, he won't even bring up the origins of COVID when he speaks with Xi Jinping. What's that about? Why not put China's feet to the fire? Where did this pandemic start? Why did they cover it up? And why are we afraid to even mention this?
I think it's not only embedded in our politics, it's embedded in corporate America wanting to tiptoe around the bad behavior of China. And if we keep doing that, they're going to win in the long run. And we're going to be regretting that we were timid and we weren't a little more forceful in our point of view, and we're going to lose respect across the world to boot.
Well, it feels like that's happening. Senator, we're going to be watching all of that. Thanks very much for being here this morning, Senator Mike Braun in D.C. this morning. Thank you, sir. Quick